Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is, wherever you are in this amazing planet of ours. I'm Malcolm Hawker, and I'm the host of the CDO Matters podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Maybe you're on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for downloading all of it. It is your engagement with this growing community that makes all of this possible. Hey, if you are into fintech, if you're into financial services, if you are in the banking and insurance industry, and you're looking to find ways to succeed with AI, maybe you want to get over that 95% failure hump of POCs of AI. Maybe you're looking at deploying some custom chatbots. We've got a guest for you today. I'm excited to be talking to Jeremi Karnell, who's the head of data solutions for InvestNet. Jeremi's joining us today from a hotel room, so thank you for the dedication to the pod here, Jeremi. Usually a resident of my old hometown of the best city in America, Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining, Jeremi. We're excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. So
awesome. Well, let's get into it. First and foremost, I mentioned fintech. I mentioned financial services.
Yeah.
You exist in a world where you are building and deploying data-based solutions to a network of advisors. Correct?
Yeah.
So help our listeners and viewers understand kind of your overall operating model.
Yeah.
How you fit in the organization and the stuff that you as the head of data solutions are building day in and day out. How do all this fit together?
Yeah, happy to. So I am in a fortunate position. I came to InvestNet through an acquisition. I was the CEO and founder of a company called Truelytics that InvestNet acquired back in 2022. And after that acquisition, they gave me the privilege and honor of working with some of the best data people I've ever been able to work with in my life. And we get the privilege of taking the digital exhaust that comes off of $6.5 trillion of assets under management and turning that both into business intelligence, so descriptive and diagnostic analytics. This is a lot of our fee, flow, performance benchmarks, but rear view mirror looking. And that's what we're known for, actually, leading up to, I would say, the last couple of years. That was our sweet spot, is all of the business intelligence that we were able to generate from that data and provide back to three primary core segments: asset managers, wealth enterprises and their advisors, and RIAs. And over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been slowly making a pivot, not slowly, actually, I think we've been going pretty rapidly, making a pivot to more disproportionately focus our attention on what we're calling decision intelligence. And that is a and we're trying to elevate the conversation within wealth and financial services to get away from looking at AI as like a tool set and that's episodically used and look at it more strategically from a decision intelligence perspective. I think there is a sort of an overwhelming sort of focus on the use cases like note-taking apps, things of that nature, and less, unfortunately, a focus on where AI and machine learning, deep neural networks can really weigh in and take advantage of the mass amount of data that this industry puts off every year, like every day. The trades, the positions, the valuations, all of that. The data stream that is a result of all of that on an average book of business is that's a signal universe that's 5,000 times greater than something like AI note taking, and that's where really AI and machine learning begin to shine. And so that's sort of why we are marching down this path of framing everything through the lens of decision intelligence, because it's let's be honest, investors, clients don't hire advisors because of how fast they are, how speedy they are. They hire them for their judgment, for their discernment, and helping them make some of the most important decisions of their life. And so we, with the data we have, with the approach we're taking, with the stack is prescriptive, predictive, and analytics. So what's going to happen? What should you do about it? Paired with machine learning, deep neural networks, knowledge graphs, and agentic AI, to pull all of that together in really compelling experiences that are homegrown on the InvestNet site, or provide that data back to enterprises and advisors in in whatever interface they use on a regular basis, what their desktop looks like or how they consume that. We want to meet them where they are. And so we've made that also pretty easy.
So growing up, when I was a little kid, I had a giant box of Lego. Yeah. And I was addicted to the Lego. And what I would do with it is I would literally just dump it out on the floor. And then I would sit there and, something would come to me. It was almost always a boat. Sometimes I would build a car. But what you just said to me is you've got the biggest box of Lego like ever. Yeah. And how do you go about figuring out what you're going to do with all of that, what you called the exhaust? Are you working backwards from those decisions? Is that kind of the rubric that you applied and say, okay, our advisors need to decide how to allocate capital. So we're going to build a model that best recommends how to allocate. Is that kind of you working backwards from the decisions? How do you prioritize?
Yeah. So, we first were wanting to diversify away from just business intelligence, right? And so we're like, what is the thing that we're trying to solve for an advisor? The problem is that they have a book of business. Let's say, I don't know, the average advisor has 150, 200 clients. The reality is that they only really engage with a small percentage of them on a regular basis. They just don't have enough time. They don't have enough time to meaningfully understand what is going on a daily basis for their entire book of business. It's complicated. There's a lot of financial planning objectives that they need to follow through with. There's a lot of holding opportunities, like what brokerage accounts may be better served in a managed account, what held away accounts exist that I may be able to bring in, where's their money in motion? Like, where's there an opportunity for me to help my client better invest that money than spend it, on something frivolous or something that's not going to generate a meaningful return. So there's 1,000 different things that an advisor faces on a day-to-day basis. And we thought, okay, with our data set, what can we do to help them better make decisions? And so that was with what we decided to do was build what we call our insights engine. And we have a whole portfolio of business rule-driven insights, machine learning, predictive and prescriptive insights that I think we generate 25 million next best action insights a day that we offer back to our advisors. And so now it's no longer like with business intelligence, review mirror looking sort of analytics. That stuff is, you look at that maybe biweekly, monthly, most likely quarterly. We wanted to give the advisors something that that was daily active use. You turn on your computer, you get to see a beautiful dashboard that is organized across a number of different categories like tax management or non-managed wealth or trust or CRM, held away assets, annuity, financial planning, and then there's tons of next best actions that fall underneath that and allow them to really understand and prioritize where they're going to spend their time that day, show them the impact that that's going to have on their customer, as well as the impact it's going to have financially for them, how they're going to grow organically. And so it's really an operating engine, a growth engine. It's turned out to be for advisors. Those that leverage it literally grow 35% faster than those who don't. We've got all of these amazing lift metrics that we can point to. And we've got this longitudinally, like the last 4 or 5 years, those companies and advisors that leverage insight, they see 108% lift on something like driving UMA tax overlay assets versus those who don't. This year it's 280% lift on FSP tax overlay assets. It's like 22% year over year growth in driving brokerage to manage assets. First, like it's meaningful to their business, and because of that, we have enterprises now driving a ton of data back to us that's off platform from InvestNet, which is because InvestNet only has a certain amount of data. I mean, it has a lot of data, but a lot of it's the managed account data that's on our platform. There's a lot of insurance and annuity data that we don't have. There's a lot of 401k data that we don't have. There's a lot of brokerage data we don't have. And because we have followed this path of solving for what the advisors need to do on a daily basis and making them more effective, it's resulted in enterprises now saying, great, I want my entire book of business run through those models and then open this up at scale. I'm not just going to give this to 500 of my top advisors. I want to give it to all 4,000 of them and just watch, again, the revenue hockey stick just go.
So there you have it, my friends.
Yeah.
If you are doubting the ROI of investments in AI, if you're doubting the ROI, or maybe you still think that you can't necessarily even quantify the investments in data or data management or data quality, here's some advice. Go empower your salespeople.
Yeah.
Give them some tools to help them sell more. Now, you don't have to be in Jeremy's business. You don't have to be in financial services. Maybe you're selling, I don't know, eyeglasses. Maybe you're selling iPhones. Maybe you're selling, who knows what you're selling, but we're all selling something. And if you can go and help your salespeople sell some more, you'll be able to do a before and after, and you'll be able to show usage of your analytics, usage of your insights, and you'll be able to draw a hard line between what you were selling before and what you're selling now. I mean, to me, that is a dream scenario that you're able to tie back to specific revenue goals that you're doing just through this one thing, this next best action. Not saying it wasn't hard. I'm sure it was quite hard.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk to that a little bit. I mean, so obviously you've got a team of data scientists.
Yep.
What does that team look like? And do you have people who are working on integrations, infrastructure? What does the team kind of look like?
Yeah. So we're organized from a data solution perspective, sort of bifurcated between data strategy and acquisition and management versus data product and commercialization, sort of two legs to this stool. And so on the data strategy, acquisition and management side, they're the ones that are bringing in all of the data, that are replicating the data from our trading platforms into Snowflake, running it through both our business and decision intelligence models. They're the ones that are actually also, driving a lot of the new insights manufacturing. Like they manufacture new insights, and they're spending a lot more time on the data science side doing the prescriptive and the predictive analytics. Like we just rolled out a couple of predictive next best action insights that with 90% accuracy, we can predict, I think, $22 billion of money in motion events. With 70% accuracy, we can predict, I think it was like $45 billion of held away assets. And all of that is data that they're bringing in, data that I think one of the biggest, most strategic pieces of intellectual property InvestNet has right now is the knowledge graph that they built off of that data. So that group, they took, again, digital exhaust off of trillions of dollars of assets under management and created. And so you have over 100,000 wealth advisors that make up the advisor knowledge graph. So that's a third of the wealth industry. And you've got 12 million clients that make up the client knowledge graph. And the ability for them to create really robust profiles, client and advisor profiles, have led to some really, not only really cool predictive insights, just amazing propensity models, and like providing those back to sales forces, for example, and how we operate with asset managers and helping them focus on where their wholesalers should spend time with advisors. We just released at the beginning of this year, based off of the data that was derived from the knowledge graph that we put into place, we had about 5,000 predictions, 96 of which resulted in at least one buy transaction. 90% drove new account sales. Our prediction, we were able to predict at the beginning of this year with, again, between 90 to 99% accuracy across products like FSP, SMA, direct indexing, almost 70% of the net flows that came into InvestNet. Like we knew the advisor and what they were going to buy 6 months ahead of time. And so we've taken that same approach and we've created a new high net worth propensity model. And so we're just going to that group's going to continue to lean into sort of those approaches and drive innovation around sort of new insights and new propensity models and do a lot of collaboration with our customers to find out, what's meaningful to them and continue to track their ROI from that. On the data product and commercialization side, That's where we've got a lot of people focused on how we're delivering this data. We've got new infrastructure there. Again, Snowflake is a major partner of ours. We've got new React-based interfaces that we're driving a lot of this data into. We've now integrated. They've been instrumental in integrating our insights across InvestNet's wealth tech platform. So it used to only be available to, say, I don't know, 2,500, 3,000 advisors whose wealth enterprise paid a SaaS subscription to access those insights. Now we have them seamlessly integrated into InvestNet's trading platform, in both on the unified managed account side as well as on the RIA side with Tamarack. We have it we've got it targeted for integration to be in our proposal engine and our financial planning system with MoneyGuide Pro in the first quarter of next year. So the total addressable market of people that have access to those insights went to a couple of thousand, up over 100,000. And so it's been a massive change in how they interface with that. And then, building out data products that we can put into something like a Snowflake marketplace, building out new interfaces and data share capabilities with our customers, and how they ingest the data. And again, we've got a number of different ways in which we monetize it these days. And again, the ROI is pretty dramatic for those who leverage it. There's a lot of companies that still, I think, need to build that culture, that data-driven culture. I think they're going to be forced in that sooner rather than later, just given the velocity of where, how people is consuming data, how it's necessary. It's the oxygen for AI-related experiences. So, we've got a team of people dedicated to that specific function as well.
So again, I find this rather interesting. It's something that I've been talking about for a while. I certainly talk about it in my book.
Yeah.
It seems to me like what you've done is you've kind of separated the data supply chain, loosely saying, right?
Yep.
The data supply chain, which would include data integration, data engineering, all the ETL stuff, even acquisition, potentially working with all the various sources. And what I'm hearing you say, you separated that from kind of product and go to market and productizing and operationalizing that data. This is something I don't understand why more companies aren't doing this, particularly companies that get a little bit bigger. I love this approach.
Yeah.
I specifically love the product management approach. You use the word data products.
Yeah.
What role does product management play here? Do you have folks on your team who were like out in the field, talking to advisors, getting all the requirements, defining what these products look like? What is that?
My team rolls up into product at InvestNet. We are part of the product team. Yeah, we're not even we're not on the engineering side. It's interesting. I mean, obviously there's some small overlap, but my data analysts, they're amazing at SQL, right? But they're not, and we've got really capable data scientists as well, but they don't we were really intentional about making sure they didn't get consumed into an engineering function, which is a cost function in an enterprise. And so they look at when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so everything is how can we reduce cost there? And we're like, no. They're we're on the product side. We drive revenue. We build data products that drive revenue, that deliver ROI. And because we look at the world through that lens, we can be very strategic about the investments we make into our infrastructure, into new innovation. We're out in front of our clients constantly getting their feedback on what and it's awesome. Actually, what's really interesting to me and why I think we're in this great position is that we're seeing this maturation in the wealth side where data plumbing is, don't get me wrong, data plumbing is still a big thing. This industry is a laggard on so many different levels. And there's still people that, just want their data in bi-weekly extracts, et cetera. And they've got old systems, but there's a lot now that are moving to more robust cloud-based data fabric systems like Snowflake or Databricks. And we've got this shared infrastructure now, and I'm getting calls from chief data officers and chief technology officers that are like, hey, we're voracious consumers of your data. We now are both on Snowflake. Can we start talking about how we can get that not in a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, on a daily or near real-time basis. And then once that's in place, let's start collaborating around what things we can do together with our data. And those, like, it's awesome that we have, again, a team that like really focused on driving those conversations. And I think we're going to see more of that as data maturity absolutely continues to happen in our industry. So.
I love it. This is one of the reasons why I'm talking to you, because when we had talked before, all the things that you were saying was just like, I'm like screaming, yes, yes, yes. Yeah. What you just mentioned was kind of maybe data sharing ecosystems. I mean, yes, I guess you could call it data monetization, and that's fine. And you're selling data products, and that's fine too. But what you talked about was something slightly, maybe even a little different, which is more of a kind of a sharing, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. We'll have access to each other's data, potentially getting kind of to something that looks like that. We maybe even get into shared governance model, you were already talking about shared infrastructure.
Yeah.
One of the things that just kind of struck me the most was that I could hear a lot of our listeners and viewers saying, okay, well, I'm in the manufacturing business. Yeah. I'm not in the data business, right? And I'm not in financial services where, stock tickers, data, trade data. Like, I mean, that's intrinsic to what they do. My company just makes widgets, right? Yeah. But in an era of AI, what I'm starting to see more and more, and I think our boards see this, I think our C-suites see this, and I'm not entirely sure that we as the practitioners see this enough. Data can become the differentiator. Data can become the business driver, especially in industries where you are highly commoditized and where your margins are getting pressed and pressed and pressed. But where you have 30, 40, 50, maybe even 100 years of manufacturing experience of how to do things the right way, how to procure things the right way. I mean, these are all data. Yeah. And what I hear you say, Jeremy, is that like, hey, look through data through that lens. Look through data through the lens of a product. Look through the lens of becoming a P&L, right? And like this, to me, this is kind of fundamental. What do you think?
I mean, if you're in manufacturing, so I did some courses at MIT, and one of the things they really highlighted about this next generation of innovation that we're in was sort of a trifecta. They're like Internet of Things, AI, and blockchain. They stayed away from cryptocurrency. They're like, blockchain is.
We can go there, man. I'm ready. Let's go.
I'm totally cool with that too. But it was blockchain as an infrastructure layer, and so again, I think about it through the lens of digital exhaust. So in a manufacturing plant, what are the things that you can derive data from through sensors, through IoT, and how, and is there value, like looking through the entire value chain, how does that data get captured maybe on a mutable ledger, so that, there's provenance and governance of that data that could potentially be used in different ways, could be tokenized potentially in different ways. All the way then for AI to sit above all of that and ingesting it and creating new insights and creating new ways to think about it. Like especially in manufacturing, or especially in transportation or logistics. Like I think there's just a wealth of opportunity there with data and AI. Yeah.
I'm with you. I mean, I fell down the blockchain rabbit hole about 6 or 7 years ago, and I haven't fully come out. I'm just waiting for everybody else to get to me. Because I'm sitting at the bottom of that rabbit hole saying, hey, y'all, water's great. Come on and join me. When you start talking about tokenizing things, even if we just want to talk about data and data as a product, there's a lot of people out there talking about data contracts, exposing data through data marketplaces. And that's great. And centralized marketplaces are great too. And data catalogs are great too. But I view a future state where there is this decentralized data marketplaces where all of these data products are flowing around that have the data contracts where you're actually getting paid for them. Yeah. Maybe even in Bitcoin. Yep. Maybe in USD too. Yeah. But I mean, am I crazy? Are you thinking about some of the same things in your industry right now?
Oh, completely. Absolutely. Like that this is the next renaissance. And I think, and it's funny because you see ebbs and flows of the sort of hype around things. I remember Internet of Things went through its thing, and then blockchain went through its thing. And I think it got a little disintermediated by everyone's fascination with cryptocurrency.
Web3 would be another one.
Right. That's Web 3.0. I guess Web 3.0 almost encompasses a lot of these things wrapped up underneath, right? And now AI is at the table. Like that is it's taking up all the oxygen in the room. But these other things still exist, and they're so instrumentally. They're so instrumental to new, modern, contemporary data infrastructures that people have got to widen the aperture a little bit and really look at the opportunity here. It's not all just AI, ML. I mean, there's so many amazing innovations that all sort of tick and tie together. Actually, if you're really strategic about the architecture, there's amazing new ways to generate new innovation, new revenue streams.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, historically, one of the things from a kind of a marketplace and monetization perspective is, marketplaces are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
And, you could set up a data and try to market it through a marketplace. But to me, and I've seen marketplaces come and go like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Every major software provider has had a data marketplace. Everybody's tried it. But to me, the reason why data marketplaces have not taken off is because of governance.
Yeah.
People will create a marketplace and say, well, here's my data and you just have to go trust it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, getting back to blockchain, and I don't want to make it all about blockchain, but one of the things that blockchain is particularly good at is governance.
Yep.
And you can actually integrate, maybe it's through a data contract that exists as an NFT, but you can actually say, here's the governance that went into this thing.
Yeah.
Here are the acceptable uses of this thing. You can even put controls around, like time-based controls about when it can be used, when it can't be used. So I'm with you. Yeah. One thing we actually didn't talk about, we talked about some of the stuff you've done with Next Best Action. We had talked about some of the other ML stuff that you've been doing.
Yep.
The graph-based stuff you've been doing around your network graph and your client graph. Amazing. What about Gen AI? We haven't talked about Gen AI.
Yeah. So at the beginning of this year, at our large conference, it was in Vegas this year. It's called Elevate. We introduced 2 new generative AI capabilities into production. One is called generative business intelligence, and the other is insights AI. So I'll deal with Gen BI first. So we started this call by saying, our group historically has been known around our business intelligence data, and we are shifting now to really focus our time and attention to be more on the decision intelligence side. One of the things we needed to do to help us sort of make that pivot is get out of the business of manufacturing business intelligence, experiences, be they charts, be they grids, be they widgets, be they dashboards. We have about a little over 100 fit to purpose APIs that we know the wealth industry wants to see from a business intelligence perspective, these benchmarks, these fees, flows, performance, et cetera. But if they wanted to see that data differently and it wasn't part of our API library, it would be a professional services engagement. It would take my really limited and important resources off the line to build something bespoke that will never be seen again, that is actually tech debt for us. We'll have to maintain this over time. So as we build new experiences, we forgot about those, those dashboards that we now need to build only for this single customer. And so we wanted to, and it cost them time and money. So it added friction to their ability to derive value from the data that they have. And so we looked at the situation and we came up with a solution that said, let's introduce a natural language query interface where they can ask to see their data in any way they want. And as long as we have the data, then it will send that query securely to OpenAI, use their structured output to dynamically generate an API. So it doesn't send any data. It just sends the query, creates the API on the fly, sends it back to us, and then we display it real time. So it gets us out of the business of having to manufacture any new views. Again, this can be down at the grid level. It could be down at just a simple graph. It could be a widget of graphs. It could be an entire dashboard. It all dynamically gets generated now by generative AI through OpenAI. Its integration into our business intelligence dashboard. So that was generative business intelligence, and that's literally being pushed through every one of these experiences that exist at InvestNet. If there's anything BI or reporting basis, this is sort of core to that now at InvestNet. And then on the insights AI, there we wanted to deal with what we saw is decision fatigue, generating 25 million insights a day, giving an advisor a beautiful dashboard to see all of their insights. It's a hunt and gather experience. They still have to pick which insights they should go after. And because of that, we wanted to give them a more natural language interface to their insights to be able to sort of talk to their insights, prioritize their insights, get a lot of generative content around those insights that they can't get from a dashboard. Like, help me understand what a UMA tax overlay is or why it's important, and how should I actually frame that insight, or this brokerage to manage insight, or this single stock concentration risk that exists in my client's portfolio. What's the best way to frame that for them and generate that email, or generate that PowerPoint presentation, or generate all of the client prep that goes into that. And so both, and there we leverage Snowflake Cortex as our primary infrastructure. And just this month, we rolled out an agentic framework within Insights AI. So before, it was a lot of prompting back and forth between the end user and the large language model to get the answer that they were really looking for. Now we've got 6 or 7 different agents that all have very specific roles to play. That allows for really sophisticated multi-part questions. So we're dealing with some really sophisticated concepts. And so these advisors are going to have sophisticated questions. And we've got now a half a dozen agents that now are able to manage that using chain of thought reasoning and having the best outcome possible in the first try, instead of having to prompt back and forth to really get to sort of the output that they were looking for. So,
all right. Well, there you have it. If you doubt for a second that LLMs and natural language queries will not take over legacy BI platforms, believe it or not, Jeremy, I've had this debate a number of times on LinkedIn, where there's still a lot of people who think that BI will continue to play a role, and maybe it's sitting under the cover somehow. Maybe it's helping facilitate some of these APIs, but I have a hard time seeing how kind of traditional BI lives in a world that you just described.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. I just think it changes a little bit. You know what I think needs to happen in the industry is that we seem to be overly focused on natural language query and chat. And that's because everyone, like chat has made AI accessible. Like that's what now everyone loves that's our primary interface. In really highly regulated industries like financial services, where the quality of the outcome of the advice from AI matters dramatically, the open-ended nature of Q&A and natural language queries presents we'll be the first to say, like, this whole year has been a learning curve for us. Like, it has presented a number of different challenges in not only the quality of the response, the time of the response, and so where we're headed, I think where there's a lot of green field to take advantage of is like embedding AI into the interface itself, with the use case already there, like removing the need for natural language query and having AI anticipate what it is, but have that under the covers and get rid of the open-ended nature of some of this. I mean, it's important. Don't get me wrong. That experience is really important in certain use cases, but in other use cases, you can just have it naturally embedded in the back end, doing all of the things it needs to do from a thinking and acting from an agentic point of view. And it's going to deliver just as good, if not a better experience in many ways, shapes, and form. So,
well, but what you just touched on is what, the kind of thought leaders and, advocates in this space are saying is the natural next evolution, which is, it's not about individual productivity per se. I mean, it's not. Right. I challenge people that say there isn't additional productivity out there. There most certainly is. Right. I just think that individual line managers aren't reporting it because they don't want to lose their employees, but that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
The natural evolution here is from individual productivity to workflow engineering and process re-engineering. Yeah. And what you just said, I'm paraphrasing you, is now you want to go from a Google-like ask me anything, right? And being able to support any potential query by any investment advisor anywhere on anything, including tell me about the weather today.
Right.
to this, hey, I'm doing a portfolio review with client XYZ and I'm looking to reallocate something, right? What you're saying is that make that part of that flow, completely. In this case, a portfolio review.
Yep.
or maybe an investment or an initial discovery call with maybe a new client, or who knows, but you know your workflows as well as anybody, better than anybody. But to embed in there, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right. And because you have the context, you can have AI follow the workflow to that content. You can have AI step in with a really rich explainability. You can have, especially in our industry, have AI be connected to real-time streams to the SEC and FINRA for compliance related. And so it can check just real-time what normally a human would be involved in to understand, like, okay, is this output also compliant? Like that, all of that can be automated. It does not need a chat window. Like it's the next phase. It's going from search and synthesize and generating content for you as an individual to now AI thinking and acting either in a decision-making framework all the way to just agentic, like without any rails, like letting it do what it wants to do, which I don't know whether or not there's ever going to be a use case for that type of AI within financial services. AI on rails, or agentic on rails, most certainly. But the autonomous AI, I think it's going to take a while for financial services in particular to feel comfortable with autonomous AI. So.
Well, you know, what you just said to me, again, really highlights the requirement, I would say, to focus from a product management perspective and to focus from a customer perspective, a workflow perspective, stand over their shoulders, understand how they use their tools day in and day out, be deeply ingrained with the people that are building those CRM systems or workflow management systems or what due diligence systems, whatever they are, whatever tools that you're using. Be deeply ingrained with them and to find ways to integrate AI into those processes. And interestingly, when you kind of look at some of the companies that are being the most successful here, that's exactly what they do.
Yeah.
The layer on top of that is that governance isn't this separate thing that is over here. It's a part of everything. It's literally woven into your operations because it has to be in your world. Do you agree?
I have 100% agree, especially in our industry. Yeah.
All right. This has been amazing, Jeremy.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for the conversation. Really, really enjoyed it. Really, really eye-opening about the possibilities there. And you know, why I wanted to talk to you the most is because I wanted to highlight, hey, here's a success story. Here's a company that's doing pretty leading edge stuff. It's pretty cool stuff. And we need more success stories in our world. Yeah. How can people connect with you, Jeremy?
LinkedIn is the best way. Just
perfect.
Jeremi Karnell at LinkedIn. I'm the one with the big InvestNet banner. Now, I have to warn everyone, I'm an identical twin. And
that's cool.
And his name is Ian. My name is Jeremy. We're both in wealth management. So you may come across his profile. We look identical. So, choose the better. Well, I'm the better looking one. So choose that.
We could probably defer to Smarter, maybe.
No, actually, my brother is definitely the better looking one.
All right.
I'm just joking. All right. Like, he is definitely.
Well, thank you so much for joining the community today. Really appreciated it, Jeremy. If you've listened this long, take a moment to take a moment to subscribe. We'd love to have you join this growing community of CDOs and people who want to become CDOs. So we will check you out on another episode of CDO Matters sometime very soon. Thanks, everybody, and bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.